Madridistas, welcome back. Welcome back to Madrid. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you've all had a chance to recover from that just grueling match in Manchester the other day. Absolutely insane. Today we're going to talk about the Clásico, the greatest rivalry in world sports, certainly the biggest club match in world football. You can already feel the tension around here. The city really sort of lights up for these. People fly in from all over the world to cover this one. So we're going to talk about the Clásico. Just anecdotally, I did watch the City Real Madrid match again yesterday, and I have a couple of little anecdotes I'll share with you guys. But we're going to talk about the Clásico. This one I think has a slightly different texture about it, just based on all of the kind of underlying things going on, at both clubs. So it has a slightly different feel. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But, we're going to talk about the Clásico, which, I'm very excited about for tomorrow. And then finally, I'll just give you guys a couple of little comments on my last video that, comments that you guys contributed regarding the whole state-owned club issue. But I'll give you my thoughts on that as well. But let's talk about the Clásico. Thanks for joining me again. Let's get started. All right, Madridistas, welcome back. All right, let me give you my thoughts on the Clásico, but just first, one thing I wanted to mention, I watched the City Real Madrid match again yesterday more calmly, and I don't know why it felt less bad. I mean, we got completely steamrolled for about 60 minutes. The last 15 minutes of the first half and the entirety of the second half, everything I described in my previous video is spot on. I mean, we got absolutely decimated, but it didn't feel as bad watching it sort of calmly the second time around. I don't know why, but I mean, I think the first 30 minutes we actually looked quite in control and, had the better chances. And then in the 30 minutes of the added time, I also thought we were better and created the better chances. So I don't know why. I mean, they definitely just demolished us for most of the match, but I don't know why it seemed a little bit less bad. I guess when you watch it live, you're so emotionally engaged that, just anything that goes wrong just seems horrific. But anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Now, let's talk about the Clásico. Now, this one, obviously, no matter what the circumstances, this is always just a very high-tension match because these two teams, really despise each other. This is a tremendous rivalry that goes back in history, and it has all sort of, political and kind of sociological underpinnings. I mean, that, I don't need to explain to you guys the rivalry and the level of tension here. So, it will be a very, very intense match as always. But I do think there are a couple of, factors that just give it a slightly different flavor this time around. I mean, first of all, let's look at where we are. As you guys know, in La Liga, we have an 8-point lead, which, considering the few games that are left, these are the games that are left, by the way, fairly reasonably comfortable opposition for Real Madrid. So it's an 8-point lead, which is quite a bit. But if you take keep into account the goal difference, it's actually a 9-point lead. So, Barca knows that they absolutely have to win if they want to have any chance, even a remote chance of winning La Liga or competing for it in the last few matches. They really need to win. I mean, a draw will not do anything for them. They absolutely have to win to start to make up that difference. So, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that, Barca is going to come out with, their best lineup and playing, as if it were the last match on earth. So there's absolutely no doubt about that. One thing that worries me somewhat is that this feels a little bit like, I don't know if you guys remember 2 years ago, Real Madrid had we had a Clásico in the Bernabeu around this time of year. We had come off a very, very difficult quarterfinal, with PSG, and we had such a comfortable, lead. I think it was 12 or 15 points, but that game ended up 0-4. I mean, I was at the Bernabeu for that one, and believe me, it was just not fun. So I'm a little bit worried that some of the kind of, superficial characteristics are a little bit similar to that situation, and I'm really hoping that we don't make the same mistake, because I think we took that match, too lightly. We kind of played with an experimental formation that didn't work. So it's in the back of my mind, but I certainly hope that won't be the case. But look, from a sporting standpoint, Barça must win. Now, there are also other reasons why, Barça really needs to win. Now, the teams are in very, very different places psychologically. I mean, they could not be in more different places psychologically. Real Madrid coming off, a historic sort of, grueling, victory that we all watched a couple of days ago. And then Barça coming off, a performance that was, suicidal. I mean, it was really a self-sabotage. I can't remember the last time I saw a team sort of shoot itself in the face like this, because that must be a very demoralizing situation, because Barça looked like the better side with 11 men against PSG. They were playing well. They scored first. Everything was sort of, the stars were aligned, and they really just self-imploded because, the Araujo, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, that was a foul. The Araujo play was a foul, and that red card was deserved. It wasn't a very violent foul, but it was certainly a foul. And then, the penalty with Joao Cancelo was completely unnecessary. It just, I can understand that from an emotional standpoint, Barça is probably as low as they can be right now, and we're probably as high as you can be. Now, there's actually been a bit of tension in Camp Barça. I don't know if you guys have followed. Gundogan in an interview, made some, critical remarks about the Araujo situation and sort of lack of concentration and making the wrong decision. And I think to do these things publicly is usually never a good idea. And I understand what Gundogan is trying to say, that, this is unacceptable and that they need to be, more responsible, et cetera. But I just, saying that in public has created quite a bit of tension. And then you had Araujo responding to Gundogan's comments, and then Gundogan coming out again. And so there's a little bit of tension in the Barça dressing room. And I think that's another added motivation, I think, for them to really try to win this match, because whenever you have any issues in a club, any sort of tensions, the best cure is always winning. It seems to gloss over any tension. So, I mean, they have, from an emotional standpoint, a lot of reasons to really want this. So, another thing that really is in the back of my mind is the issue of fatigue. I mean, this is unsurprising. Real Madrid really, as I mentioned, defending in my other video, I mentioned defending in football takes a lot more energy than attacking. And when you're defending for most of a match in such a low block, it is a physically exhausting, taxing thing to do. So I am very worried about sort of, where we'll be physically. We did have just enough time to rest, but 120 minutes is not something that the players are accustomed to, especially at that level of intensity. So I am worried about fatigue. I think in terms of the lineup, Real Madrid wants to win this game. Even friendlies against Barça are just never friendlies. So, I know that we're going to take this match very, very seriously, but, I'm not sure that Ancelotti is going to come out with all of his, big guns from the first minute. I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't be surprised if we did reserve one or two of them. So, on the basis of that, I think that the lineup is particularly unpredictable this time around. I think usually we have an idea of, who might rest and, or whether we really need all the big guns. But I think it's very hard, I think, to venture a lineup for this one for the reasons I just mentioned. Given where we are, the lead in the table, and the fatigue level, and the fact that we have Bayern Munich around the corner. So it's going to be, very hard to predict what Ancelotti is going to do here. Now, another thing that I want to mention, and, Barça supporters are going to be really, really pissed off with me for saying this, but I think another reason that Barça really needs to win this match is that, Barça is, I follow a lot of the YouTubers, the media around Barça. I have my whole life, as I do, obviously, Real Madrid coverage, and, I'm very familiar with the sort of the psychology and the culture around each of the clubs, and obviously I have friends that support Barça, et cetera. And there is, psychologically, the buzz or the vibe around Barça is very strange. It's very different from the way we are. I mean, Real Madrid, if we don't play well or we lose a match, you don't need to pick on us because we pick on ourselves more than any. We're more critical about ourselves than anybody else. I mean, the Bernabeu will whistle for nothing. I mean, if you miss 2 or 3 passes, I mean, we'll start whistling. We don't care who you are. We're a culture, as a club, we're very, very self-critical. Now, Barça is completely different. I mean, Barça is the entire media that surrounds Barça and the narratives that they create. It's almost cult-like. They will believe anything they want to believe. They can make themselves believe anything they want, and there's never any kind of honest criticism. It's very, very strange. And if Barça wins this match, they've saved the season. I mean, they will spin this like they're better, and I mean, this is very important to them because the spin machine, the narrative machine around Barça that Laporta very much fuels, they can milk this. They can milk this and just pretend everything is fine, and that they're because they're like this. I mean, we're talking about a club, just to give you an idea. And if you guys haven't seen my Barça Negrera video, please watch it, because I go over that issue and I look at numbers. It's a very data-driven commentary. But, just to give you an example, I mean, they're capable of paying refs, having the best referee decisions, not just in Spain, but in all of Europe for like 18 years. So you take penalties for and against, and you take red cards for and against, and you add it up. And then, I mean, they can have the best referee tally in the world for years and still say that somehow refs favor Real Madrid. I mean, it's completely insane. It's delusional, but this is how they roll. I mean, to give you another example, half of the media, or more than half of the media in Barcelona, are saying that against PSG, that Barça were robbed, that the ref robbed them. I mean, how can you realistically, having seen, the Joao Cancelo penalty, which was a stupid penalty, but it was a penalty. It was stupid, and it wasn't very harsh, but it was a penalty. And the Araujo play, which is clearly a red card. I mean, the forward is running at full speed. He gets in front of Araujo. Araujo clearly tries to destabilize him. And when you're running at full speed, it doesn't take a lot to knock you over. It was an obvious situation for a red card, but they are spinning it like they were robbed. So there's something very strange about the kind of cult-like bubble. There's kind of a reality distortion bubble that they create for themselves. And this is another reason why I think Barça really wants to win this match, because they will use this victory to that will reinvent the entire season. So they're motivated on many, many levels to win this. And obviously we want to win, and we're going to try our best. But I think in terms of intensity, Barça definitely is going to come out with sharper teeth. But anyway, those are kind of my thoughts on the Clasico, which will be very exciting. There's going to be a massive standing ovation for the Real Madrid players when they come onto the pitch. And as I mentioned, I'm going to film that for you guys. And I'll share it with you in my post-match analysis, because I want you guys to, it's going to be a really, really beautiful moment. And I want to share that with you guys. Finally, one last thing that I want to mention regarding the video, the post-match analysis of the City match. In one of the segments towards the end, I discuss, state-owned clubs and how I think they're bad for football. And, a couple of you guys, I don't know if you guys are sort of subscribers or if we're sort of imposters coming into the, maybe haters coming into the channel, but a couple of you, were very upset that I would make those comments and suggesting that I was being insulting to PSG or Man City. And I just want to make one thing very, very clear. Okay, that was not an insult of any kind. I don't care who owns Man City. I don't care who owns PSG. I think clubs can fund themselves however they choose. I don't really care. What matters to me is financial fair play. So if you know how the system works, so basically every club has revenues, based on ticket sales and sponsorship deals and TV rights and all this kind of stuff. And then you are limited in terms of how much you can pay in salaries or transfers based on that revenue line. So that the amount of money that a club organically makes is what ultimately limits how much you can spend on players. So the issue with clubs like Man City and PSG is that, what do you do when you have all the money in the world to buy whatever you want, but your revenue line is not very high because you're just not really a global brand? I mean, Man City, who was Man City 15 years ago? I mean, honestly, they just don't have the footprint to generate the kind of revenues that other bigger clubs do. So what they do, I mean, obviously, you're motivated to inflate the revenue line. So you kind of create very dubious sponsorship deals with dubious companies no one's ever heard of. And my objection is to that, okay? I don't care who owns the clubs. My objection is to, manipulating accounting data and financial data so that you can find a loophole to sort of cheat your way around financial fair play. So that's my issue, and I want to clarify it. So I was insulting nobody. But anyway, listen, that's what I want to leave you guys with today. The Clasico is going to be amazing. I'll bring you my post-match comments, and like I say, I'll give you guys a clip of the standing ovation that these players are going to get, well-deserved, after that performance in Manchester. So thanks for listening. I'll come back to you after the Barça match, and as always, a la Madrid.